as quirky and misguided as Red Dawn in the 80s was, it's even more bizarre in the 2012 version, where apparently when they first wrote it, it was
Right.
China as the
Yes.
aggressor, and then
Yes.
they changed it to North Korea, which becomes even less likely than China.
Yeah.
Um,
Here we have a country that like is barely able to feed its own population and stuff. And then now all of a sudden they have the forces to invade, like kind of, one of the largest superpowers. It just, I talk about stretching imagination or suspending disbelief and stuff. Like I don't know what the writers were thinking in this case to like, to make it
yeah,
North Korea and stuff.
yeah, and I mean, even in if you wanted to sort of recreate the this just the story of the teenagers going from
Hmm.
school kids to um, a guerrilla force, there wasn't really much of that in the
Mm.
2012 version. Like you said, it was just Chris Hemsworth telling people what to do, and within about 15 minutes, they seemed to have pretty much everything locked down. They were
Yeah.
then blowing up tanks and everything. It was just like, wow, just let the football team loose, and they'll win the war for you. It was just made no sense really at all. Um, the explosions were bigger, the
Yeah.
gunfights were noisier and better choreographed, but there was also some quite ludicrous product placement in that they duck into a subway and the guy even lists
Yes.
things on the menu to them, which I thought was, and of course, I think there's one for Call of Duty Modern Warfare as well thrown in.
And in the
So,
original one, you had at least a sense of like a slight desperation to where like kind of the not only the teens but the people were kind of like they look things look a little bit more run down. People which kind of makes sense and like like that here is a town under siege and stuff like that, and the military is going to take
mm,
care of themselves. But other than that, then who is going to basically supply a town, right, and stuff? But apparently, in 2012, Subway was still running its franchises and
absolutely,
making sure that like kind of everyone could get their 6 inch to foot long sandwiches, I guess.
absolutely. Subway's distribution, their supply management is
Yeah.
it's invasion proof.
Yes.
Can't say better than that, can you? Yeah. I mean, I can't remember because, to be honest with you, about halfway through, I really switched off with the 2012 version. But what I kind of liked with the original was at least that various members of the Wolverines died
Mm,
as the story went
yeah.
on. So it kind of
Yeah.
whittled them down, and you got this
Right.
kind of there was this kind of desperation. But this one, it felt like apart from like Chris Hemsworth died, right, and
Mm.
that
Yeah.
was about it.
And I think that's one of the we go it goes back to our discussions different times about what is a big problem with remakes and stuff. And to me, one of the biggest problems that we've seen throughout these different ones is that like with the bigger budgets, the nicer CGI, and like kind of special effects and all that kind of stuff, is that like there's this kind of slick MTV kind of feel to things and stuff, and it
Yeah,
really loses like kind of the heart, like kind of like yeah, I granted I absolutely understand like kind of making things look more polished and stuff, but when you do it to the point that like you have a Subway store, for product placement. You,
yeah,
have like all the characters all look like they should be on, like kind of some episode of Spring Break, like kind of MTV Spring Break kind of episode and stuff. It just kind of
yeah.
it just loses something, like kind of. Whereas in the original one, you saw like kind of the people like kind of there's this lack of makeup for the girls, and the guys
Yeah,
like
yeah,
different times like are wearing kind of things with like a little bit raggy and stuff like that, and that kind of just went away, like kind of like all of a sudden like we have leather jackets in 2012 and
yeah.
on and on.
So, Red Dawn brought to you by Abercrombie and Fitch.